this morning your reading lesson is going to contribute towards your English lesson, which you're doing after this. So what I want you to do is to pause the video and make a sheet like this. Have Catherine, Sam and Trout Walker on your page. So pause the video and do that very quickly. Okay, so you should have this ready by now. Oh, just checking it's not going through to the wall. So what we're going to do is go through chapters 23 and 25. The reason why I'm skipping chapter 24 is because it's about Stanley and the boys at Camp Green Lake, and we're not focusing on them at the moment. So, chapter 23. 110 years ago, Camp Green Lake was the largest lake in Texas. It was full of cool, clear water and it sparkled like a giant emerald in the sun. It was especially beautiful in the spring when the peach trees which lined the shore blossomed with pink and rose colours. There was always a town picnic on the 4th of July. They'd play games, dance, sing and swim in the lake to keep cool, and prizes were awarded for the best peach pie and peach jam. A special prize was given every year to Miss Catherine Barlow for her fabulous spiced peaches. No one even tried to make spiced peaches because they knew that theirs couldn't be as delicious as hers. So what I'm going to do is to just add that information onto Catherine. And I'm going to do it in note form, so not full sentences. Makes prized spiced peaches. There we go. First note. Every summer, Miss Catherine would pick bushels of peaches and preserve them in jars with cinnamon, cloves, nutmegs and other spices which she kept secret. The jarred peaches would last all winter. They probably would have lasted a lot longer than that, but they were always eaten by the end of winter. It was said that Camp Green Lake was heaven on earth and that Miss Catherine's spiced peaches were food for the angels. Okay, I'm going to add that onto my notes about her. The peaches were food for the angels. And I want you to think about what that suggests about them. Okay. Catherine Barlow was the town's only school teacher. That's important, isn't it? Only school teacher. Again, think about what that suggests about her. Okay. Right, I'm going to keep reading about Catherine, but I'm not going to write any more notes. Okay, you're going to write your notes now. So anything I say about Catherine that you think is important, jot it down. So, Catherine Barlow was the town's only school teacher. She taught in one old room schoolhouse. It was old even then. The roof leaked, the windows wouldn't open, and the door hung crooked on its bent hinges. But she was a wonderful teacher, full of knowledge, full of life. The children loved her. She taught classes in the evening for adults, and many of the adults loved her as well. She was very pretty. Her classes were often full of young men who were a lot more interested in the teacher than they were getting an education. But all they ever got was an education. But one such young man was Trout Walker. His real name was Charles Walker, but everyone called him Trout because his 2 feet smelled like a couple of dead fish. Okay, you might want to start taking some notes about Trout now. This wasn't entirely Trout's fault. He had an incurable foot fungus. In fact, it was the same foot fungus that 110 years later would afflict the famous ball player Clyde Livingston. But at least Clyde Livingston showered every day. I take a bath every Sunday, Trout would brag, whether I need to or not. Most people in the town of Green Lake expected Miss Catherine to marry Trout Walker. He was the son of the richest man in the county, and his family owned most of the peach trees and all the land on the east side of the lake. Trout often showed up at night school but never paid attention. Really important things here, so keep jotting them down, pausing, jotting them down. He talked in class, he was disrespectful of the students around him, and he was loud and stupid. A lot of the men in the town were not educated, but that didn't bother Miss Catherine. She knew they'd spent most of their lives working on farms and ranches and hadn't had much schooling, and that's why she was there, to teach them. But Trout didn't want to learn. He seemed to be proud of his stupidity. "How'd you like to take a ride on my new boat this Saturday?" he asked her one evening after class. "No, thank you," said Miss Catherine. "We've got a brand new boat," he said. "You don't even have to row it." "Yes, I know," said Miss Catherine. Everyone in the town had seen and heard the Walkers' new boat. It made a horrible loud noise and it spewed ugly black smoke over the beautiful lake. Trout had always gotten everything he ever wanted, so he found it hard to believe that Miss Catherine had turned him down. He pointed a finger at her and said, "No one ever says no to Charles Walker." "I believe I just did," said Catherine Barlow. "Yes, you go, Catherine." Okay, chapter 25. So continue to take notes about Catherine and Trout if you think there's anything important that comes up, and then listen out for any information about Sam that you might want to add to your page. Remember, this is going to really help you in English later. Okay, so the more you do now, the easier English will be. Chapter 25. There was a doctor in the town of Greenlake 110 years ago. His name was Dr. Hawthorne, and whenever people got sick, they would go and see Doc Hawthorne. But they would also see Sam, the onion man. "Onions, sweet fresh onions," Sam would call as he and his donkey, Mary Lou, walked up and down the dirt roads of Greenlake. Mary Lou pulled a cart full of onions. Sam's onion field was somewhere on the other side of the lake, and once or twice a week he would row across the lake, pick up a new batch to fill the cart. He had strong, big arms, but it would still take him all day to row across the lake and another day for him to return. Most of the time he would leave Mary Lou in a shed, which the Walkers let him use at no charge. But sometimes he would take Mary Lou with him on his boat. Sam claimed that Mary Lou was almost 50 years old, which was, and still is, extraordinarily old for a donkey. "She eats nothing but raw onions," Sam would say, holding up the white vegetable between his fingers. "It's nature's magical vegetable. If a person ate nothing but raw onions, he could live to be 200 years old." Sam was not much older than 20, so nobody was quite sure that Mary Lou was really as old as he was. Really as old as he said she was. How would he know? Still, nobody argued with Sam, and whenever they were sick, they would not only go to Doc Hawthorne, but also to Sam. Sam always gave the same advice: eat plenty of onions. He said that onions were good for digestion, the liver, the stomach, the lungs, the heart, the brain. If you don't believe me, just look at old Mary Lou here. She's never been sick a day in her life. He also had many different ointments, lotions, syrups and pastes, all made out of onion juice and different parts of the onion plant. This one cured asthma, this one was for warts and pimples, another remedy was for arthritis. He even had a special ointment which he claimed would cure baldness. "Just rub it on your husband's head every night when he's sleeping, Mr. Collingwood, and soon his hair will be as thick and as long as Mary Lou's tail." But the doctor did not resent Sam. The folks of Count Greenlake were afraid to take chances. They would get regular medicine from Dr. Hawthorne and onion concoctions from Sam. After they'd got over their illness, no one could be sure, not even the doctor, which of the two treatments had done the trick. Dr. Hawthorne was almost completely bald, but in the morning his head often smelt like onions. Whenever Catherine Barlow bought onions, she always bought an extra one or two and would let Mary Lou eat them out of her hand. Is something wrong? Sam asked her one day as he was feeding Mary Lou. You seem distracted. Oh, just the weather, said Miss Catherine. It looks like the clouds are moving in. Me and Mary Lou, we like the rain, said Sam. Oh, I like it fine, said Miss Catherine, as she rubbed the donkey's hair on the top of its head. It's just the roof leaks in the schoolhouse. I can fix that, said Sam. What are you going to do? Catherine joked. Fill the holes with onion paste. Sam laughed. I'm good with my hands, he told her. I built my own boat. If it leaked, I'd be in big trouble. Catherine couldn't help but notice his strong, firm hands. So they made a deal. He agreed to fix the leaky roof in exchange for 6 jars of spiced peaches. It took Sam a week to fix the roof because he could only work in the afternoons, after school let out, and before night classes began. Sam was not allowed to attend classes. I wonder why that was. But they let him fix the building. Miss Catherine usually stayed in the schoolhouse, grading papers and such, while Sam worked on the roof. She enjoyed having a little conversation that they were able to have, shouting up and down to each other, and she was surprised by his interest of poetry. Hopefully you've been making notes about Sam as I've been reading. I'm going to put that on there. Interest in poetry. And think about what it said about most men in the town and whether they were educated or not. When he took a break, she would sometimes read a poem to him, and on more than one occasion, when she would start to read a poem by Poe or Longfellow, he would finish it from memory. She was sad when the roof was finished. I wonder why she was sad. Is something wrong? He asked. No, you did a wonderful job, she said. It's just that the windows won't open and the children and I would enjoy a breeze now and then. I can fix that, said Sam. She would give him 2 more jars of peaches and Sam fixed the windows. It was easier to talk to him when he was working on the windows. He told her all about his secret onion field on the other side of the lake, where the onions grow all year round and the water runs uphill. When the windows were fixed, she complained that her desk wobbled. I can fix that, said Sam. The next time she saw him, she mentioned that the door doesn't hang straight, and she got to spend another afternoon with him while he fixed the door. Sounds like she's just finding things for him to fix so that she can see him. By the end of the first semester, that's a term, Onion Sam had turned an old run-down schoolhouse into a well-crafted, freshly painted jewel of a building that the whole town's proud of. Definitely put that on there. People would pass by and stop and admire it. That's our schoolhouse. Shows how much we value education in Camp Green Lake. The only person who wasn't happy with it was Miss Catherine, because she'd run out of things that needed to be fixed. She sat at her desk one morning, listening to the pitter-patter of rain on the roof, and no water leaked into the classroom, except for the few drops that came from her eyes. Onions! Hot sweet onions! Sam called out on the street. She ran to him. She wanted to throw her arms around him, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Instead, she hugged Mary Lou's neck. Is something wrong? He asked her. Oh, Sam, she said, my heart is breaking. I can fix that, said Sam. She turned to him. He took hold of both of her hands and he kissed her. Because of the rain, there was nobody else on the street. But even if there was, Catherine and Sam wouldn't have noticed. They were lost in their own world. At that moment, however, Trout Walker stepped out of the general store. They didn't see him, but he saw them. He pointed his finger in their direction and whispered, God will punish you. Okay. Leave it on a cliffhanger there. Okay. Right, hopefully you have got lots of notes about Catherine, lots of notes about Sam, lots of notes about Trout. I would say probably at least 5 for each character. If you don't have 5, you might want to listen to me read again and jot down a few more. Okay, right, good luck in English.